Hello again. Video 14, I believe. We're going to actually try to start putting the board together today. I've had some camera issues with running with the microscope because everything has to be done under a microscope. My setup, the bench just looks like that. You can see the microscope. So it's going to be a little odd when we actually start working on that. What we want to do first is... Okay, so, here's the boards we got from Osh Park. So they look just fine. And I've got you get 3 copies of the board. And I've got this stick vise, which is, it actually works really well. It's just spring loaded. It holds the board into place for working on it, yet it doesn't get it too tall. Makes it easy to get underneath the microscope. And obviously, a good set of tweezers is a must. When you find a pair you like, you don't loan them out to anybody because somebody's going to drop things. And the other thing is that I'm going to solder it by hand and not use a stencil this time. I can do it both ways. I kind of like doing it by hand. Something about it, it's just kind of like I enjoy that. So, and then when you stick a part down, when you try to solder it with I'm using solder. It's really fine, but it's just a solder. The parts will stick to the tip. So you need something to hold the parts in place. So what I've done is I've got these forceps, and I've got a sewing needle, and I just do this, and then I'll stick the part on the board, and then I'll use the weight of that needle tip on the part to hold it in place while I solder it. Then it's not as obvious under the microscope because you don't get to see as large a field as you do with the document camera here. So I'm going to flip over to the microscope camera, and it's going to be harder to see me. Breaks of the game. I'm sure you're just heartbroken. Okay, so let's get that going, and we'll see what happens. Okay, so there's me and the document camera. I'm going to rotate this so you get to see me off to the side. Okay, and the first part that causes us, I had to move the microphone too. The first part that causes us lots of grief is the USB connector. So let me see if I can get this where we need to be. Okay, so this is the on the board. This is the micro USB connector. Of all the parts, this is the one that gives the students the most headaches. And, half the time I have to take it back off and put it back on. So we're going to put that on first while we've got the space. And you can see that those pads are really small and to stick it on there. So we're just going to flip this thing around. And I've tilted the board just a little bit so we could see the contacts, because that's also really hard to see. Let's see here if I can move this a little more. Okay, that's almost close. And then we'll take this needle, and I'm going to put it. This is the needle on the forcep, and I'm going to move it so it's close. Now I just need to get this in the right spot, and I can, barely see those tabs of the what needs to be soldered. And once I get it just about there, yep, and then I bump it. Let me see if I can move it a little bit more. Some things just take a little finesse to get them where we want them. Okay, now let me get this back to where I thought I wanted it. Okay, getting close. Okay. And this part actually hangs off the edge of the PC board, which is kind of a little bit of a pain. And other people have used tape to actually hold this thing down. Now, I'm going to try to solder one I can see that it's moved already on me. I'm going to solder one of the wings on the side here down is what I'm going to try to do. And, you know, it's always the touchy part. And we'll see if we can get in here and do this. Okay, so I put a dab of solder on that connector. So now it's close enough, and I can see that the pins down there are all touching the pads. That looks good. So I can come across to the other side. I'm going to tilt this up a little bit. Because now I can solder this side. Because it won't cause me any grief at all. It's not going to go anywhere now. And now I need to solder those pieces that let's get that out of the way. And now my focus is garbage again. Okay. So now I can come in here and I'm going to solder those. If you get too much solder on here, you can actually destroy the connector, and I'm just trying to get underneath here. That one's good. That one's good. I see I got the connector a little bit there, but it's fine. Okay. Now let me just tilt this up a little bit and so we can get just a little bit better view on it. Nothing shorted, and everything looks like it's in place. Now, if you were to put this in with the solder paste, then you get the strength of the solder on the bottom side. That also helps out, which is a good thing. And I'm going to attach just a little bit more solder on that first solder joint we did, because it was just to get it in place. So now we've got it in place, we can worry about the other issues. Okay. So there's our first part. We're going to grab the all the chips first. U3 is that CH340. Well, we might as well just take it in order. Here, I think. How we got? Oh, we're not quite there yet. Okay, CH340 is this guy. Here's pin 1. Here's our line that tells me that's where pin 1 goes. So I want that to be just, that's fine. Now it's parts, if I can do this carefully, I just want to touch the corner, and and I'm a little shaky sometimes in the morning. And that's the only side that's going to be tacked down for a second here. Obviously I shifted it just a little bit, so I'm going to see if I can just shift it back, but it's okay. Again, we've got one pin soldered down poorly, and what I want to do from there is go grab another pin, and now that it's not going to go anywhere very easy, I can actually solder it down pretty easy here. Okay, so now that one's good. I can go back to this one. Oh, let's grab a different one first. We'll just go down the row here. And I want to go down the other side. Can't quite reach it because of the USB connector there. Okay. There's that part. Next up, we've got this the processor itself, and I'm just going to throw it on here. And notice this is the pin 1 marker, and my pin 1's over here, so I need to rotate this guy so they match. And again, I just want to get it really close. I'm not holding it down with anything, and I just need to get one pin tacked down so it doesn't move on me. And that's always just a little bit of a trick. So I'm just trying to. It shifted just a little bit, but I think it's within. No, we didn't even solder it. Okay. Sometimes a little oxide builds up on the pins because I don't actually keep these things in a very good environment for that. Okay. It is now soldered down. Okay. Clean off a little of the extra. I'm going to start on this side and just kind of run down the pins. Because now it's locked down when you get 2 of them in. And if we do short pins out, it's really not that hard to fix. Okay, so that works well going from that direction. Let me just rotate this whole thing. Let me go across this row. I should short one out. There you go. There's a short. There's another one. This one cleared. Easy enough. And while I'm here, I might as well clear this one off. So I'm going to take a little bit of copper braid and just come in here like this. And you could see on the edge of the pin that it's like the solder itself wicks between the two, and you can see a little bit of a fillet around it. That really means you've got a pretty good solder joint there. If you really botch a part and you need to take it back off, there's some other products that I've got that work really well for that. But I'll save that in case I botch it big time and I need to take a part back off. Okay. And the other problem is that the microscope, the view that you have is not quite the full screen that I have. So sometimes I tend to get off the screen a little bit. Sorry about that. Oop, there's another short. So we'll come back in here. Get rid of the solder that was on the end of that thing before. And we'll come in here, and that one's shorted, so we'll just come in here with the solder wick, and I'll just push that right down in the pin. And a little easier for me to see than on the optic side than from you, but I could see when it sucks the solder in. So then it goes away. Okay. So that all looks just fine. Okay, so we've now got a microprocessor on there, and it's all soldered down. Oh, that first pin there looks a little wimpy. Let's just touch that. Okay. So now I've got the two and more parts, the chips that go on, are the remember this is stepper motor drivers, and we used a ULN 2003. That is these guys, and that has to go the other direction. So that's one of these, and it needs to go. Oh, that's pin 1 over there. I got to pay attention. Okay, goes this way. And yes, I've put a lot of parts on backwards before. Now, we'll stay in place for a moment, would you? You know, maybe it'd help if I put a little bit more weight on it for just this moment. Sure. Okay. And these pins they're huge. There's a long ways apart. They're 0.05 inches. Some of the ICs I work on are not nearly that. That's not quite straight. There we go. So let me see if I can get a pin or two tacked down. Okay, there's a pin. Try to keep centered in the scope here so you can see it. That looks good. Okay, let's get the other side. That will do. Okay, the other IC that still goes on this board is the other ULN 2003. Here's the pin 1 marker. There's the pin 1 dot, so that goes on there. Let me attempt to do this again, where I use this a little bit of weight to hold it in place. I'm not as stable as I used to be when I was younger, and I've got a bunch of these fibers. Let me get those out there. They're probably cat hairs is what they are. That's what happens when you have cats. Okay. And I need to tack one of these down. I may be off your screen, and I'm sorry, but I wanted to get that in place. Okay. So I got the one tacked, and I need to get the rest of them. I'm going to resolder the one I started with because I can heat it up just a little bit better when I'm not worried about moving the part. Let's get the other side. And then we'll probably break the video there just because. Okay, let's turn my microphone around here and go to, there's the, okay, so here's how far we got so far. We've got the USB connector, and we've got the 4 major chips. We've got the USB to serial converter, the processor itself, and the 2 ULN 2003s. I think I'm going to stop there, and then we'll continue on with the next video. I hate to make them any more than 20 minutes.